WRJE 381, monitoring.
Good evening and welcome to the GMRS 1900 Net on this, the 25th day of August 2020. This is Tim, WQRV 903, and I'll be your net control for this evening. Before proceeding with the net, I'm going to check to see if there's any stations with emergency or priority traffic. Any stations having emergency or priority traffic, please come now. Hearing none, if during the net there is any emergency or priority traffic, please feel free to break in at any time. The GMRS net, the GMRS 1900 net I should say, is a directed net where we discuss matters relating to GMRS and other various topics. In a directed net, all traffic during the net must go through the net control. Normally, the net is held every Tuesday on the Phoenix High Power 550 repeater, transmitting on 462.550 megahertz from the White Tanks Mountain at 7 p.m., also known as 1900 hours. The net is normally conducted using the national travel tone of 141.3 hertz. If you do not have that tone installed in your radio, you should do so as soon as practical. Participation is still possible, however, using the regular club tone if you place your radio into monitor mode. All participants are encouraged to use monitor mode during the net to ensure that you don't miss anyone transmitting on a different tone. Information regarding the GMRS 1900 net can be found at www.AZGMRS.org. The net is run by the Arizona GMRS Repeater Club. We'll start the net by asking for check-ins from our Zello users first. After that, I'll ask for check-ins from our RF users. After the check-ins are complete, we'll pose our topic and ask for input. When you take your turn, we ask that you just please keep it short and to the point so that any questions or comments can be properly addressed by all. I would also remind you that when you are through with the conversation, please clear with your assigned FCC call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic before we continue? Okay, this is WQRV 903, and hearing none, we'll now take check-ins from our Zello users. Zello users only, please, at this time. Are there any Zello users out there who would like to check into the net? Please come now. Okay, I'm not hearing any, so we will now take check-ins from our RF users. Please call in two at a time and speak slowly, giving your call sign and your name. And pause in between users so that I can write down the information.
WQYP 827, Mike.
WQIQ 594, Jay.
Jay, was that 594?
That's correct, that was 594.
Okay, thank you. I have Mike 827 and Jay 594. The next two check-ins, please.
WQZZ 533, Jeff.
WQWC 299, Brian.
Okay, I have 533 Jeff and 299 Brent. Thank you for checking in. Next two check-ins, please.
WQDZ 664, Rich.
WRAP 262, Walter.
Okay, I have WQDZ 664 and WRAP 262, Rich and Walter. And the next two check-ins, please.
WRJE 381, Michael.
WRDC 319, Sean.
Okay, I have 381 Michael and 319 Sean. Next two check-ins, please.
WQZ 645, Gary.
WRCG 640, Adam.
Okay, I have 645 Gary and 640 Adam. Next two check-ins, please.
WRFV 254, Mike. Please check me in and out.
Okay, I've checked you in and out, Mike, 254, and 808, Mark. Thanks for checking in. Next two check-ins, please.
QWL 795, Attila.
Okay, I've got WQWL 795, Attila. Are there any other check-ins for tonight? Okay, I heard someone checking in and out, but I did not hear any of the call sign. You're almost completely covered up by noise.
We'll try that one more time. WYS 886, this is Jason.
Okay, 886, you're checked in and out. Thank you very much. Any other check-ins tonight? The next two check-ins, please come now.
WRJA 283, Ken.
Okay, I have WRJA 283, Ken. Are there any other check-ins? Okay, one more call for check-ins. Are there anybody else that wants to check into the Arizona GMRS 1900 net? Please come now. Okay, hearing none, we're going to go ahead with the question of the evening, and then we'll start down the list. Let's see, I think I've lost my place. All right, tonight's topic is installations, whether it's an installation of a mobile or an installation of a base station. The question is, do you have all the correct tools as needed in order to do your installation yourself? Or do you prefer to trust it to a professional when doing that kind of work and hire it out, like through a contractor, or a combination of the above? And any comments are welcome regarding any specialized tools that you may have for doing your installation. So we're going to start at the top of the list. WQYP 827, Mike, you're up and welcome back.
Yeah, actually good to be back. As far as tools, I've got most of everything that I can do a normal mobile installation. I also rely a lot on, if I don't know how to do it, I'd rather try and figure it out myself before I actually take it to a professional, and it's just how I am. But I've got most everything I need to do a mobile or a base station installation.
Okay. Does that include a SWR meter or forward and reflected power meter?
Yeah, I've got several meters. My Bird meter is probably my favorite one. It may be old, but it's a lot more accurate than some of the cheaper digital ones. But they do come in handy. The digital ones come in handy. Cost-wise, they're pretty effective. And a soldering gun and some solder and some various connectors, and usually I can get through it.
Okay, thanks for your comments. Do you have anything else to add?
No, the one that most people don't, unless they're hams, the one item that they don't recognize usually is the Anderson power pole connectors. I still use them quite a bit, especially for base stations and radios that I'm working on that need to be unplugged and plugged back in. They're just convenient, but it's probably essential that you get the right crimping tool that goes along with them. They're very sturdy and very easy to use.
Roger that. Yeah, that's a very specific crimping tool for those connectors. All right, if you're all through, then please clear with your call sign.
Thank you for taking the net tonight, and look forward to being back on here for a while. WQYP 827.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Next up is Jay 594. Do you have everything you need to do installations, whether mobile or base, or do you pass it on to the experts?
Good evening, and thanks for the handling net tonight. I just acquired an SWR meter, so I'm getting the tools together to be able to put mine together. But I prefer to try my hands at it, and if all else fails, then I'll turn it over to professionals. WQIQ 594.
Okay, Jay. Well, good. You're off to a good start. I might recommend that if you anticipate doing more than one installation, making the investment in the correct crimp tool. It's one of the most critical parts of the installation is getting, in addition to getting the SWR right, and of course it factors into the SWR, making sure that you have the proper crimp tool, because a regular old CATV crimp tool just won't do the job. So thanks for joining the net tonight, and we're down to Jeff, WQZZ533. Jeff, how about you?
Good evening. I've got lots of tools. I haven't done any permanent installations at this point. I am considering having a professional install the antenna on my vehicle because I really don't want to go through the job of pulling out the headliner, etc. But home stuff, I'm pretty handy, so I will do any home installations as soon as I decide exactly what I'm going to do. WQZZ533, back to net.
Yes, Jeff, I know about that headliner. I myself have done it a couple of times back when cars were simpler, but now that in all the posts going up and down the frame, you've got airbag deployment stuff, I'm very leery of trying to route a cable either down the front post next to the windshield or the middle post in a sedan. So it's very scary with that. So I'm with you. I would trust that part of the installation to a professional because of that, because of those problems. So good input, and yeah, it's good to be able to do the base station. It's a little bit easier, I think, to do a base station installation. So now we're down to Brent, WQWZ299. I think I know what your answer is, Brent, but go ahead.
I'm sorry I missed the question. I was trying to get my truck ready for work.
We're talking about whether we are averse to doing installations or whether we entrust it to a professional installer or whether we do it ourselves, and if we have all the proper tools to get the job done.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure you know my answer. I've been doing installs for 20-some years, so I probably have every tool in the tool bag. Some are easy, some are very, very difficult, and you have to be very careful, especially when I did my truck, because there's airbags that run along the top of the headliner above the doors, so you just got to be careful when you do stuff like that. I would recommend taking it to professional. Other than that, Tim, I don't have too much. I got to get ready for work here. Good to be on the net tonight, and I'm glad you took it. WQWZ299.
Okay, thanks for checking in, Brent, and good input there. And I do know that you're pretty proficient at that, but wise as well to trust these scary parts to the pros. Rich, WQDZ664 is next up. How about you, Rich?
Good evening, Tim, and the rest of the net. I do almost all my own installations with a couple minor exceptions. The last few cars I've had professionals drill the antennas. I am not willing to drill into a $50,000 vehicle with airbags and other stuff going around the ceiling. I also hired a guy to do some of my attic work for my antennas at home. And I also had a carpenter come in and take down the wall so I can run the cables in the wall to the attic. And then, but the rest of it I did myself, the patch panel and the cabinet and all that. WQDZ664, back to net control.
Yes, I have seen your man cave / radio room / command center, and it's severely impressive. So, yeah, good work there for sure. And, yeah, I know you seem to be resonating with everybody else that's commented so far about the antennas in the roof. Because, like I said, in the old days it used to be easy, but now with the airbags, it's you can get into a world of hurt real quick. Walter, WRAP262, it's your turn. What do you think about the subject tonight? And do you have everything you need to do an installation, or do you trust the professionals?
I don't have many tools, but I also am running everything kind of like a temporary right now. So I will have to do it and let the professionals have the install for me. WRAP262, back to net.
Okay, thanks for that comment, and I totally get it, running everything temporary. I was a long time before I actually put radios in my vehicle. I was running just handhelds, basically, so it and magnet mount antenna. So when you're ready to drill those holes, some of the club members can point you in the right direction where to go. Okay, thanks for checking in tonight, Walter. Good to hear from you. WRJE381, Michael, you're next.
I pretty much do it myself. I have a truck. I run all the lines underneath the panels on the floor and the door sills and out the firewalls. So it's a good hookup, good setup. Mainly just used for like overlanding and stuff like that. But for the home, yeah, since I'm kind of new to the radio world, it's definitely something I'd like to learn. And as opposed to having someone do it for me, I'd like to see if I can learn how to do it myself from somebody who has the knowledge. WRJE 381.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Well, there's a lot of club members that have done a lot of their own home installations of their base stations, myself included, and who you can always tap any of us for information about that, and even come over and see some of our installations. Mine is not particularly sophisticated, but it gets the job done. So thanks for checking in, Michael. Over to Sean, 319. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Tim. Obviously, Tim 903, who is our wonderful host tonight, has been a lot of help, especially when I was getting my truck set up, not with the initial part, but getting it tuned so I could get all around the valley, especially with trimming down an antenna just to be just about right for 460 megahertz, which is, well, I guess I could do it this time now that I've learned how to do it, but I don't really like to work with an angle grinder anyway. And at home, I've got a pole up off of my one of the corners of the stand for my my heat pump because my my roof doesn't have any eaves. So, well, it has eaves. It doesn't have any. All of them are hip joints. So there's no high spot on the roof that you can just put a pole on the edge of. WRDC 319, back to Net.
Oh, yes, it is very fun cutting those shafts of the antennas with a grinder, and it's something that I've been doing for 30 years or more. So you get used to it, and you wear down a few grinding wheels. So that's good. Well, I'm sorry you don't have a good place to put that, but on the edge of your heat pump stand, that seems like a good a place as any to mount an antenna. And as long as it's not a real big antenna, it won't have too much wind loading, so it shouldn't do any damage to the infrastructure of the heat pump. So anyway, Gary, you're up next. 645. Go ahead.
This is WQZ 645. Good evening to the Net, and I appreciate you taking the Net tonight, Tim. As always, just wanted to mention one thing before we get into the topic here, and that is everybody should remember the general meeting is coming up at 1 p.m. on Saturday, September 19th. I'm going to be here before you know it, and set some time aside for that. It's going to be a video type of a meeting, and we'll send out an email on how to connect. Now, as far as doing installations, I've never used a professional. I've been doing it since probably about 1970 or so, right around there. And first one I did was a 1966 Chevy Suburban. And back then you didn't have, you were lucky if you had seat belts, I'll tell you the truth, back then on a lot of cars. But there were no airbags, none of that electronic stuff all over the place, so it was a lot easier back then, that's for sure. But then in my house over here, I like to run I like to run it in a permanent way and run the cable, from the mast down through the attic and down through the wall and that type of thing. So I had no problem with that at all because, I had my son do it. But over the years I've had a lot of different tools, and but one of the most important ones that I wish I still had, I lost it over the years, is a crimper, and I need to get another one of those. And of course the SWR meter, that is absolutely essential. So I'll go ahead and turn it back to Net. This is WQZ 645.
Okay, thanks for checking in, Gary. And yeah, that's since 1970. That's been about the first installation I ever did too. Was back then, actually. 1970. And at that time, I was installing a CB. But I've done a lot of radios since, and I get the whole thing about running it through the attic and down the wall. That's the right way to do it. And sometimes you can't always do that. Sometimes you run into fire blocks and you have to innovate. That was a unique solution of Rich's, to have the wall torn down so you can just run them up the wall. right there without any obstructions, so that's a good idea. Okay, thanks for checking in. It's over to Adam now, 640. Adam, how's your evening going, and what do you think about the topic?
This is WRCG 640. Good evening, Tim and everybody on the net. I'm having a pretty good evening tonight myself. As for the topic, that is a spectacular question, Tim, and I had to kind of sit down and think about that for a minute. I think I could say pretty safely that if I were to do a mobile installation in my car, my first and only step would be to go find myself a qualified professional, or at least somebody who plays one on TV. I've got a relatively new car that's got a lot of electronics that I just don't really care to accidentally tamper with. So I would certainly be looking for a little bit of help with regards to that. Now, as for home installation, I'm relatively comfortable with wiring in walls. I got used to that at the recording studio, doing a lot of that installation maintenance. I think I'm only a couple of tools short, but I'm pretty comfortable with the topic. I'm currently renting, so I don't have the option at the moment, but were that to be a thing I needed to do, I could probably do that myself without too much extra effort. This is WRCG 640.
Okay, thanks for checking in, Adam, and yep, I'm starting to see a theme here. Mobile installation is a lot scarier than it used to be, and I agree with you. I just as well prefer not to tamper with the electronics. In fact, my last installation was in my Honda, and I had a professional do it, and he did a really nice job. I put in a trunk mount UHF radio with the control head on the right-hand side of the console, right next to the shifter, and then a 2-meter rig on the left-hand side of the hump, and feeding it with a diplexer and a dual-band antenna on the trunk. Not on the trunk lip, but a hole in the middle of the trunk. So that's my installation. And I had a pro do it. So this is WQRV 903, and this is the Arizona, this is the GMRS 1900 net for the Arizona GMRS Repeater Club. And I'm going to ask for any other check-ins, any late check-ins. Is there anybody out there listening that wasn't in time to check in but would like to check in now? Please come now.
WRJD 277, Carl.
Okay, I have Carl, WRJD 277. Anybody else out there want to check into that? Okay, Carl. And we're going to skip over Mike because he has to be checked in and out. And we're down to Mark, WRFP 808. Mark, good evening. And what do you think about the installation, mobiles and homes?
WRFP 808. Hey, Tim, thanks for taking the net tonight. I installed my own mobile and home antennas. Bit of an adventure for the home since I got a 2-story house and I don't like heights, but managed to work my way through it. And I also caught a break on the installation on my truck because it's an 06, so I'm not nearly as afraid as most people are about drilling into the roof. So came through that okay. Break. One tool that I really do need to invest in that I have not thus far is an SWR meter. I really need to pick one of those up just so I can make sure I'm as fine-tuned as I need to be. WRFP 808, back to net.
Okay, Mark, thanks for checking in tonight. And yes, you did cut a break on that 06 truck because there's a lot less complexity doing those. And SWR meters, they're getting more and more affordable. There's, the ones that were mentioned by Mike at the beginning, the bird watt meter is the cream of the crop and the one of the higher priced options, and you have to have the individual slugs. There's another meter called Telewave, TELEWAVE, and this isn't a commercial for them, but they're good. They go down into HF and all the way up into 800, 900 megs, but they're prohibitively expensive for most people. So I just have a Diamond SX400, and a lot of the club members have those Diamond SX400s. So they're a good meter, and they're not, you don't have to give up your firstborn to get one. So, and they work pretty well. They're relatively accurate. When I tested it against my boss's watt meter, it was pretty close. All right then. Next up is Attila, WQWL795. Attila, how you doing tonight? And what's your comments about the installation of radios in base stations and mobiles?
Good evening, team and the Net. Because of HOA restrictions, I have nothing permanently installed. Everything is portable. In my car, I use mag mount antennas when I'm using. After that, I take it out, and same at home. And for this easy thing, I don't need any other special tools what I have, so I'm fine with portables. This is WQWL795, back to net control.
Okay, well, thanks for those comments, and yeah, I kind of knew that. When you live in an area where there's an HOA, you're quite limited, but there isn't a whole lot you can do about that. Nothing wrong with going with portables and mag mount antennas. It's sometimes it's the only way to keep the wife happy. So thank you for your comments. And we had another in and out check, which was 886, so we'll skip over him and go down to Ken, WRJA283. Ken, good evening, and do you do your own installations, or do you pass it over to professionals?
Well, good evening to everybody, WRJA283. As I should tell you, this is my first conversation on anyone's net. I just recently decided in the last year or so to get involved in radio. I'm retired from the military. So I decided to get involved completely. I've done my home install so far for a base station. I have an older brick home, so I have the hole saws and all that kind of stuff. I put up a nice access panel that I got from a company up in Colorado, and all that wiring I actually did by myself. I've managed to acquire the Anderson power pole stuff and the proper crimps and stuff like that, so it's been kind of interesting, and so far it works, so I'm happy with that. On the mobile side for the truck, I have a 2013 F-150, and to be honest with you, I'm a little paranoid about doing that thing myself, in particular the electronics. WRJA 283.
Okay, well, that was a lot of good information, and welcome to the world of GMRS and talking on the net. So thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate that, and thank you for your service to our country and the military. We really appreciate that. And great that you were able to get your base station stuff done. That's important and good. And the idea of having an access panel is something that I've always thought I should do, but never really invested in the panel itself and making it happen. I just use normal, ordinary 1-gang or 2-gang old work boxes for electrical, and then I just put a cover over it when I pull the coax through. And totally get it on the electronics in the truck, but like I said, there's a lot of members that can refer you to somebody that can help you get that done. So last on the list is our late check-in, Carl, WRJD277. Carl, the subject tonight. Sorry, I timed out. The subject tonight, Carl, in case you didn't hear, is do you do your own radio installations for mobile and base stations, or do you farm it out to the professionals? This is Tim, WQRV 903. Over to you, Carl.
Hello, and good evening to the net and everyone on it. I've always done all my own mobile installations. I've never done a base installation to date, but I probably wouldn't hesitate doing it. Kind of have some construction background and remodeling and all that stuff, so it wouldn't even faze me. And back in the years, I used to be SC certified mechanic, so digging around in cars doesn't threaten me either. So I just kind of do all my own work, and for the most part, I have all the tools needed to do it.
Okay, sounds good. And it's good to have you on the net tonight. I'm not sure if this is your first time checking in. I don't remember your call sign from before, but welcome. And if you're all through, please sign off with your FCC call sign.
Actually, this is the first time getting on the repeater, just kind of poking around, seeing what it's all about. Kind of came over from the 2-meter side and used that to communicate with friends, and just thought I'd give this a go as well, because why not? And so yeah, it was my first time on, just checking it out. I'm sorry, wrong call sign. WRJD277, back to net control.
Okay, thanks, Carl. Well, I kind of got a little bit of a feeling that you might have had other net experience. And welcome to the net, and welcome to the GMRS radio world. And having dual licenses, ham plus GMRS, is great, as Gary will tell you. And it gives us a lot more tools in our toolbox to help out in times of emergency or in times of doing service for different organizations, as we commonly do in our club. So now that that's reset, I will check to see if there's any other late check-ins. Would anybody else like to check into the net tonight? Okay, nothing heard. So this is Tim, WQRV 903, and I'd like to send out my thanks to everybody who's checked in tonight. Hang on, I'm looking for my script because I can't do this by memory. Let me see, how many people did we have? Looks like about 15. I didn't count them, but that's probably an accurate guess. But thanks to everybody that checked in. And special thanks goes out to WPRR 517 for hosting the Phoenix High Power 550 repeater. And this is WQRV 903, net control for the GMRS 1900 net. And we'll now return the repeater to its normal operation.
This is WQZ 645. And my name is Gary, WQZ 645, as I mentioned, and I'll be your net control for the Arizona Emergency Services Group net. This net is normally conducted after the Tuesday night 1900 net concludes. And the Arizona Emergency Services Group, or AESG, is part of the Arizona GMRS Repeater Club. The volunteers in our group, a unified team of licensed GMRS and amateur radio operators, receive training and also conduct exercises to expand their skills. Some of our members have a ham radio license and decided to get a GMRS license, and some did the opposite. They had a GMRS license and then decided to do some upgrading to ham radio license, and they got one of those. So, as Tim mentioned, those who have dual licenses, well, they have an extra tool in their radio toolbox, and it works out well many times. If you're interested in joining our group, just send us an email, esg@azgmrs.org. And the purpose of this net is to perform a regular test of communications equipment, provide training in emergency procedures, and exchange information related to preparedness. All nets, whether for training, exercises, events, or incidents, are directed nets. This means that all traffic must go through net control. In addition, stations should notify net control prior to changing frequencies or leaving the net. Any station may break in at any time with emergency or priority traffic. Is there any such traffic at this time? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and continue with the net. And any station that would like to fill in as alternate net control, please call now with your FCC call sign.
WQRV 903. Tim.
Okay, 903. Appreciate you taking the alternate net control, Tim. And you're just going for broke tonight. You were net control on the other net, and now you're going to be alternate net control on this one. Fantastic. Okay. We will now begin taking check-ins. Please check into the net with your name and call sign, 2 at a time.
WQYP 827, Mike.
WQZZ 533, Jeff.
Okay, we've got 827 Mike and 533 Jeff. The next 2 check-ins.
WQWZ 1099, Brian.
RCG 640, Adam.
Okay, we got 299 Brent and 640 Adam. And the next check-ins.
WRDC 319, Sean.
Okay, we've got 319 Sean. Any other check-ins?
WRHY 894, Jeff. With QWR 795, Attila.
Okay, we've got 894 Jeff checked in and 795 Attila. Any other check-ins?
WQOQ 594, Jay.
Okay, we've got 594J. Any other check-ins tonight?
WQWI 942, please check me in and back out.
Okay, 942, Chris, we've got you checked in and out. Any other check-ins? Okay, very good. Let's go and continue with the net tonight. And the topic tonight is having some important and available resources. And tonight we're not necessarily, we've already talked about, in the past, we've talked about our radio equipment, emergency power, batteries for our portable radios, and that type of resource. But tonight we're talking about informational resources. And we're going to get into that here in just a moment. I do want to mention that we had emergency call relay that occurred this last Friday, where one of our members was out in the area near Sheep's Bridge there, which is north of Horseshoe Lake, and he observed a wildfire start up, apparently, and then that person, he didn't have good cell coverage, so he called in, and that member contacted another member on Towers repeater, and then that person didn't have, he wanted to get the correct phone number to call, so he contacted me on 550, and I gave him that information. So we did have a successful call-in and a relay of a wildfire report via GMRS, and the wildfire was named the Verde Fire, and earlier today it was 350 acres, 75% contained, and thinking that it probably would have been a lot less contained if we hadn't got the message through as quickly as we did. So I really appreciate those two members for getting on the ball and getting that information called in and relayed. This is WQZ 645 Net Control. And one of the things we're going to talk about tonight, as I mentioned, is resources and how fast you can get that information that you need. And one of our resources, of course, is our emergency procedure, and it has a lot of information in there. Our emergency procedure for the group is about 50 pages long. And it has phone lists, several phone lists. It has lists of frequencies and other resources there. For those who need help with the phonetic code, it's got that list in there as well. And that emergency procedure is normally sent out to all of our members via email. It's also available on our website, the AESG website, and that's now up and running. It is still kind of a work in progress. We're still adding more information as time goes on, and you can go to the member page, and on that page you'll be able to click on a spot there that says current emergency procedure, and you can get to the procedure that way very quickly as well. And you can download it or print it out. And we highly recommend making sure that you have a copy of that emergency procedure on all your devices, on your PC, on your smartphone. I keep mine on my smartphone, so I've got it right there pretty much at all times. And I set up a special folder right on the front screen there, and I can click on that and go to my folder, and then just a couple clicks is all it takes, and I'm right there. And one of the things we do want to talk about before we run out of time here tonight, I like to have things wrapped up by about 8. So we don't run too late for people who want to go ahead and continue and do things during the evening. And we do have phone lists. One of the phone lists is on page 21 is where the phone lists start on that procedure. And we have one phone list that has all of the public safety agency phone numbers for Maricopa County, as well as a bunch of the hospitals, pretty much all the hospitals and medical centers for Maricopa County as well. And those phone numbers are there. And that information can be used if we want to call directly to the agency we want, or if the 911 system itself is down. And the numbers we have listed there are not administrative numbers. So they're not just 9 to 5 numbers. They're 24/7 numbers, and they all go into the local dispatch center for that particular agency that's listed. And so what we're going to do tonight is just a little exercise. We want to talk about, before we do that, we're going to talk about the resources that are available on the website. I already kind of mentioned that in the emergency preparedness area on the website. We have a lot of information and resources there. In the member area, then the member area at the bottom there, you can click on where it says resources area, and then you have more information for members. And another very important piece of information we require is we need to have maps and GPS coordinates, the ability to locate GPS coordinates. We always want to have that with us at all times as well, and make sure that you have those on your phone and you know how to use them. So we're going to just go ahead and do a little exercise real quickly here, and we're going to go down the list, and we're going to mention a few things here that we want us to locate. And you should be able, and as I mentioned before, you should have that emergency procedure right there available. And we're going to go through a couple things here that are in the emergency procedure. And the person that's called on, well, we want you to go get that specific piece of information and then call back to Net Control and let us know that you found it there and what it is. Okay, let's start out with 903 Tim, and we are going to look on the emergency procedure. We want to get very familiar with this document. We want to look at the emergency procedure on the phone lists, and that's going to be on page 21, and we want to look up the number for Surprise Police Department. Surprise Police Department for 903. Just want to make sure you copy that.
903, I copy.
Okay, very good. And then 827 Mike, well, let's go and find the number for Southwest Gas. Southwest Gas. Could you go ahead and look that up for us, 827?
827, copy. Stand by.
And next on the list we have 533 Jeff, and let's look up the number for Wickenburg Fire Department. Wickenburg Fire Department. Could you look that up for us?
533, copy.
827, copy information.
827, go ahead.
877-860-6020.
Okay, very good, 827. You got that very quickly. I appreciate that. And the next on the list we have 299 Brent. Are you still on the radio, or are you headed to work?
You know, I'm still on the radio, but I'm driving.
Okay, we will give you a reprieve on that then, because we want you to drive to where you're going safely tonight.
903 info.
903, go ahead.
Surprise Police, 623-222-4000. WQRV 903, back to Net.
Okay, very good, 903. And you got that information quickly as well. So then we're going to go to 640 Adam, and we're looking for the frequency. And that's going to be in the frequency list that started page 23. And we're looking for the frequency for the AZGMRS channel 6. That's AZGMRS channel 6 frequency. Can you look that up for us, 640?
Copy, will comply. WRCG 640.
533 info.
Go ahead, 533.
The phone number for Wickenburg Fire is 928-684-7702. WQZZ 533, back to Net.
Okay, 533, and that is correct. Very good, appreciate that. And then 319 Sean, we do have a frequency we want you to look up on the frequency list, and that's going to be the standard channel 21, standard GMRS channel 21. Let us know what that frequency is. And this is WQZ 645 Net Control.
795.
Go ahead, 795.
Checking out WQWS 795.
Okay, copy that until you need to check out. And 319 Sean, did you copy that message?
Yes, it is 462.7000 WRDC 319, back to Net.
640 info.
Go ahead, 640.
AZGRC channel 6
frequency figures 462.625. WRCG 640.
Okay, very good. 640 and 319, we copied your message, and that was all correct. So let's go on to 894 Jeff. Could you check the frequency? I'm sorry, could you check the phone number for La Paz County Sheriff's Office? The La Paz County Sheriff's Office. (894) Jeff, Net Control, is still out there? Okay, well, let's go to 594J. 594J, can you check the La Paz County Sheriff's Office number for us? (594J), do you copy? Okay, it sounds like we've lost Jay there as well.
827 for info.
Go ahead, 827.
That number would be 928-669-2281, WQIP 827.
Okay, very good. That is correct as well. So that ends our list tonight. 942 did check in and out, so we will skip over him. And all of those requested did manage to get all the correct numbers, and so that's excellent. I'd like to see that. And we'll go ahead and continue. Well, it's almost 8, so we'll go ahead and continue the rest of this on our next net next Tuesday. But we do have some more information to talk about. We'll be talking about our training requirements and what we're going to do if we can actually get back to having some training courses again, some in-person training courses. Okay, very good. Let me go ahead and throw it out to the net, see if anyone has any questions or comments for the net tonight. And was there a station trying to make it in there?
WQIP 827 for info.
827, go ahead.
I would just remind those potential ESG members with this pandemic, a lot of people are home now, but so don't forget, jump on the FEMA website and get some of those required classes out of the way. WQIP 827.
Very good. I appreciate that. That dovetails right into what we're going to be talking about next week about our training requirements and how we want to get some of that done. And that's an excellent idea to jump in there to go ahead and take some of those courses that are online courses, and that includes the FEMA online courses IS 100, IS 200, IS 700, and IS 800. So go ahead and, if you can, go ahead and take those courses and get that under your belt there. Any other questions or comments for the net tonight?
827, one more comment.
Go ahead, 827.
If anybody needs any information about getting those classes completed or how to log into it, send me an email, vicepresident@azgmrs.org, and I'd be glad to help them get that all straightened out. WQIP 827.
Okay, very good, Mike. I appreciate that because that is a little bit of a process. You kind of have to get a student ID number first and all this kind of stuff. So that'd be great. They can email you for that information. Any other questions or comments for the net tonight? Very good. That is perfect. And it is 8 p.m. And I'd like to thank everyone who participated in the net tonight. This is WQZ 645 Net Control. The repeater is now being returned to normal operations. 640-645.